Hello, everybody. Welcome to Moto in Depth, my Moto show. So hopefully you guys are accustomed to this now. This is episode number 3. This is actually the first episode of a real, you know what I'm saying, a real show, right? Of a real race. Anaheim won. We'll be going over race recaps, and of course we've got news flash, super surprise, fun and fluid, and just a bunch of other fun segments. But we will start with race recaps, and we'll do this every single week. So you guys do not need to worry. We're just going to be going over the 250 main and the 450 main, and the footage you guys are seeing on MX bikes will be covered over by some of the highlights of the races and whatnot. So stay tuned, and we got some pretty good graphics for you guys that I made and built up for the show, and so I can't wait to see your guys' thoughts on that. So if you guys are really interested, make sure to stay tuned for this whole entire thing. I will, 100% agree. And maybe you put this in watch later and you guys can come back to this. And it's a good race. I'd like to think that I have good knowledge on the riders and places and whatnot. I'm not trying to cause controversy, whatever. I'm just trying to have fun, make a moto show. This has been my dream forever, is to cover some sort of sport. And now that I have the platform to do it, I'm more than happy to even try. Like I said, starting off with the race recaps, 250 main. Obviously, we saw that massive crash from Austin Forkner. We'll hear more about that in News Flash after these race recaps, but absolute massive crash for Austin Forkner, and I just want to, reiterate that it is massive, and it's just such a bummer for him in particular. If it was anybody else, it would suck, but Austin Forkner, it's like, wow, are you serious? That sort of deal. Injured his whole career. See guys saying that he might need to pull out of the sport in general before he gets permanently injured, but I can't really agree with that. I think that he's got a natural talent, and he's probably one of the best 250 riders of all time, and without injuries he's probably got 2 titles right now, maybe, of course. And then obviously we saw Jet pull whole shot, and then Voland shot out of a cannon in both the heat and the main, getting those starts down for sure. RJ Hampshire came out with a decent start and actually looked patient, fast and comfortable, but also patient for maybe the first time we've ever seen. I know highly anticipated guys like Levi Kitchen and Styles Robertson. Obviously, Robertson, you look to have a little bit of a better day, being the more of the veteran of the two, Kitchen and Styles Robertson, and obviously they didn't, they use bikes that are known for their starts, and then they don't get a start in the main event, and you're like, whoa, why? Like, why didn't it happen for him? And as far as Enzo Lopes' godly heat race went, he did not find himself in the mix, but Oldenburg did. Another one that was sneaky good to me. And then Jet was just clicking off some laps while RJ was trying to catch up to Cam McAdoo. And then Oldenburg actually ends up passing Voland later in the race for about 4th place, and then McAdoo's mistake let RJ go ahead and make the pass for 2nd. Lopes actually was very quiet, but did make it to 6th after a bad start. And then you could really tell how much RJ Hampshire was really clicking with the track and the bike, and was actually able to pick up a little bit of time on Jet on those last few laps. But Jet could have stopped trying and just went for more consistency than anything. But the main event finished with Jet first, RJ in 2nd, McAdoo in 3rd, and then it went Mitchell Oldenburg, Max Voland, Enzo Lopes, Levi Kitchen, Filthy Phil, Phil Nicoletti, Styles Robertson, and Derek Kelly. Very rough stuff in that 250 main. Hopefully more races aren't so rough and whatnot. Hopefully we'll see some better racing. Hopefully we will see some guys back from injury. Pierce Brown, obviously, also have to reiterate, he got hurt in the 2nd corner of his heat race, and that was pretty scary too. We'll talk more about that also in News Flash. But moving on to the 450 mains, Nichols actually got a really good jump out early. Barsha was out and firing early. Ken Roxon, after a couple of corners, finds himself in 3rd. Good racing, in the first bit of the race, and all the factory guys find themselves out in the top 10. I think it was full of factory guys. And then every here and there, you had Christian Craig get a pretty bad start. Barsha leads a couple of laps. Craig and AC obviously had bad starts. If you guys watch the race, I'm kind of just reiterating and getting the flow going. Eli Tomac gets really impatient behind Barsha, and I feel like kind of forced him into a mistake. And Barsha actually took a pretty serious crash. It could have been way worse than it was. And then Sexton actually clicked off some good laps, found himself in the mix. Kenny looked really fast early, and it just looked like he was in a good place. Webb, I do want to emphasize, obviously he had a big night, but Webb was buried in eighth after 5 minutes of racing. Mookie and Ken Roxon went at it for second. It was it was whatever, and then Ken Roxon, after getting passed by Malcolm Stewart, has to roll the finish line due to a mistake, and Sexton was actually able to pass him, moving Ken Roxon all the way back from second to fourth in a split second. And then Tomac was looking really good out front. Well, Webb was quickly moving up to Tomac, or just moving up to the lead, and the lead guys up there, and Webb moved up to sixth actually, and one first place through eighth place were 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds apart. That was what I found really crazy about this main event, was everybody through eighth place was in it for sure. 10 seconds out, we've seen worse. We've seen guys come back from worse. Webb ends up actually catching Anderson into fifth, and then Eli all of a sudden goes down. Mookie moves his way into first. Tomac back down to fifth with 7 seconds down. Sexton in second ups his pace. Jason Anderson then goes down fifth to eighth. Something looks bad on the bike for sure. It looked like maybe the bike wasn't doing so well and whatnot. And then Adam Cianciarulo and Craig 12th and 14th at this point, so they did not find themselves in the mix towards the middle of this main event. Sexton makes past the lead, knocking Mookie off the track. Ferrandis quietly finds himself in fifth. Webb and Ferrandis were both pushing the pace and passed Ken for fourth and fifth. Ferrandis fourth and Webb fifth, moving Roxon all the way back to sixth. And then Tomac moves to second and puts Tomac and Sexton, who we saw duke it out all motocross season long, 1 and 2 in this big main event. Of course, it was crazy. And then what was even more crazy, really, is Webb pushed to just kept pushing and just kept pushing. And then Tomac ended up actually making the pass for first on Chase Sexton. It just looked too easy, in my opinion. We'll get more on that, but big Mookie crash. Obviously, you guys are seeing it right now. Very rough crash for sure. Mookie was in third podium position, was leading the race at one point, and then and whatnot. And then Webb actually pushes to third, passing Ferrandis, and then Nichols was actually in sixth, only 23 seconds down. I thought that was something like worth explaining and saying. It was because Nichols was very solid. We saw guys like Jason Anderson, I think, even behind him. So just something to kind of say and get out there. Webb starts to catch starts to catch his pace and really move up into second with 2 to go, as he passed Chase Sexton, I think, with 2 to go. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then I just wanted to explain, there was no urgency by any riders. What I mean by that is some guys, just like we saw motocross, it was so intense all the way through. No matter what, it was all these guys pushing at 150%, especially guys toward the top. Both Eli and Sexton were absolutely showing what they were capable of that no one else has ever been capable of, and that is probably one of the most gnarliest championship battles ever. Just the top two duking it out, and we're so much better than the rest of the field. To just come to this race and watch these guys basically let Eli Tomac pass them time and time again. He just moved up the pack so easily, and it looked like no one even cared to fight him for it, if that makes any sense. Just kind of moved up with, whatever. And whatever. Webb's back for sure, right? We want retro Webb now. Vintage Cooper Webb looks like he's back and ready to go. Tomac ends up winning. Of course, final actually ends up being first with Tomac, second with Webb, third with Chase Sexton, and then it goes Ferrandis, Ken Roxon, Colt Nichols, Jason Anderson, Aaron Plessinger, Adam Cianciarulo, Savacci, and then Marv actually gets there, and then Barsha, after leading the first couple of laps, falls all the way down past Marvin, and then Craig, Dino, and then actually Justin Ho was able to finish. I think it might have been 15th. I could be wrong, but I think that's 15. Moving to news flash. I know you guys might have been waiting or skipped to this part, but so Max Lee, the new owner of TLD Gascaster, the new team manager, said that Pierce Brown has a bone contusion in his tailbone and might not be ready for Oakland, but nothing was broken and he will be back soon. We will provide more information on Faulkner, is what was said about him. So we don't know much, but hopefully, just hopefully, it is not season ending. I do want to see him return, and maybe soon even. If he can come back for Oakland and maybe even A2 or just earlier in the season. As long as I can see him book 4 or 5 races this season, that would be freaking awesome. And Malcolm is looking forward to Oakland and was happy to come away healthy from his big crash as well. So we'll move into another really good segment called Super Surprise, who had the most surprising ride in both 250 and 450 classes. I think in 250s, Enzo Lopes and that heat race ride really showed what he's capable of, and I thought that was really surprising. But Mitchell Oldenburg finishing 4th in that main event was very surprising. And then in the 450s, I have to say Colt Nichols finishing 6th, or wherever, I think he was 6th. Right, it definitely was 6th. So he finished 6th in a main event where guys behind him were Jason Anderson, Aaron Plessinger, Adam Cianciarillo, Marv, Barsha, Craig, Dino, whatever, right? You know what I mean? It's just crazy to see that Colt Nichols in 6th and had 2 very solid starts, and then Cooper Webb, came back from being a non-factor last year at all. Comes back and gets that, number 2. Thought that was pretty good. And Aaron Plessinger kind of looked solid all night. I know his results don't really matter, considering he got 8th in the main and I think like 4th or maybe even 3rd in his heat. But I don't know. He kind of just surprised me with the way that he looked, at least, and showed potential of, being maybe even a winner this year. So it should be fun. Speaking of fun, moving to fun and fluid. Which riders look most comfortable and more fluid with the riding this week? And obviously, Jet Lawrence is going to be the only mention for the 250s. Maybe RJ, but I did still see him make a couple of mistakes as well. And in the 450s, I'd have to give it either to Malcolm Stewart, who was riding so solid all night long until that crash, or Cooper Webb. He was clicking off constantly faster laps, especially in that heat of his that he had. And then the vintage ride, we obviously saw vintage Cooper Webb out there. I mean, that is what Cooper Webb is known for, is that exact main event that we just saw. We've seen it 20 times before, and all of them are very solid performances from Webb. And then Rocky Rides, who had the most disappointing week in both 250s and 450s. Styles Robertson, for me in the 250s, I was expecting a lot more bigger things. All right, I was expecting a lot more from Styles Robertson for him to finish wherever he did. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you. He was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7th or 8th. So it's very much a bummer to see him, out of the top 5. But obviously, we know that there's the chance he does that, and especially with the bad start. So maybe you see him on a more comfortable track, and a more traditional Supercross track. Maybe excel a little bit more, and I hope that's the case for his case even as well. Levi Kitchen actually finished 2 positions higher than his teammate Styles Robertson did anyways. And then with 450s, it has to be Anderson for me, but honorable mentions go out to Christian Craig and Justin Barsha, but I think I have to say Anderson. I think he was in 5th. He wasn't even looking that great. A lot of mistakes for everyone, and then he actually had a tough qualifying session, tough couple of qualifying sections actually, or sessions, and whatnot. So Anderson really toughed it out, I guess. And I mean, I don't know. It just looked like a rough ride for him. And then we'll kick it off to Progression Point, where we'll pick riders each week and talk about how they're progressing throughout the season. I think that this segment is really fun and really nice. I think that I think we've got to highlight Levi Kitchen and what he's done so far. Finished, like I said, 2 positions better than his teammate. Couldn't quite get past Enzo Lopes, and the fact that Mitchell Oldenburg was still riding good. I can see him getting a top 5 consistently finish in the top 5 as the season goes on. I think that is achievable for him. And speaking of Enzo Lopes, yeah, we're going to talk about Enzo Lopes and his development. This offseason obviously was a very good one. He's second in his heat. I'm not saying it's like a super stacked heat or anything, but second in the heat, and actually clicked on to Cameron McAdoo's pace and only fell off 3 seconds in the series of, like, I'd like to say 5 or 6 minutes. So we really saw some good stuff out of Enzo Lopes. And don't even get me started on Max Boland. We're actually from the same hometown. Don't know him personally, but it seems like a nice dude. Very, very much one of my favorite riders in the sport right now, no doubt. His starts look unbelievable. I think that if he can straight up just get consistency, really, really down on a tough track like that, I think he had a chance at a podium for sure. But finishing beside or behind a guy like Mitchell Oldenburg sucks, and I think that he's also a consistent, maybe top five, maybe top seven guy. Maybe finds himself on the podium a couple times this season. Maybe. I keep saying maybe because like you can't guarantee any of these as well. And then I also want to reiterate on Roxon. I know we haven't talked about him much in the show, but Roxon easily very solid ride, very much good comes out of this week for him. I think so. It is good to see him kind of back up on two wheels, and the yellow ones for sure are fitting him. And I think that if he can get his stamina up, consistency, I don't know. His speed looked great, honestly. I'm going to be honest. His starts and speed looked amazing still. Same with Cole Nichols, though. Same thing. Actually ended up finishing one position behind Roxon in that main event. He took his spot now as a rookie in the 450 class and showing good things so far. And then Christian Craig, obviously not what we thought we'd see. I think maybe his progression could go up, or perhaps it stays the same, and he's a top 12 guy at best, which I really did not see coming. It should be interesting. I do want to hear his comment on that. I'm not sure if they're going to come out with a race vlog or anything, but I will make sure to stay in tune with Christian Craig and what he's doing, because it needs to be talked about that he got so far down there. It's kind of crazy to me. I think he got 12th or 13th, something like that. It's not good. Not good for him at all. Definitely was expecting better. I'm talking about Tricky Time, talking about the tough parts of the tracks each week and how riders adapted to the track. I think that, this one also goes with, it's just, there's tough sections to every track, and the way people get through them are always so unique. But it was actually the section right after the straightaway for me where we saw Mookie crash. And they adapted to it by sending it time and time again, and then they also switched up the section and the way they went through it and the rhythm. We saw guys roll in and then try to go like over. I can't remember the exact rhythm, but they were switching in lines, and then if they couldn't make that quad at the end, you'd actually see a lot of the triple and then kind of jump into the corner, which wasn't a bad line, but it still lost you some time. So you're still, the top guys that were getting it every lap were definitely cooking the guys that weren't. I think that's safe to say. And then we'll hop over to my crazy place. One realistic thing. These are like basically bold takes. And I say maybe one realistic thing that could happen. And two things that are so crazy that might never happen. And I think what might be possible is Savatgy gets a top 7 in Oakland. I really like the ride that he had, and a more traditional supercross track would suit his style a lot better. Showed a lot of good things here in his heat, especially. And then finishing, above guys like Marvin Musquin, Barsha, Craig, Dino, and even Justin Hill is pretty good for him. And I think in Oakland he has a good shot. And then we'll move on to the crazy things that it just isn't crazy, or it just isn't in the realm of possibility. I think that is Justin Hill getting a top 10 3 times in 2022. It's a tough shot. He just finished outside of it. I think he's 15th or so in this last race. And then Cooper Webb wins the next 3 races. Obviously, this one is a very, 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 very long shot. I want to let you guys know that. And then we will move to my top 10s. I hope you guys are kind of agreeing here with these as well. I know it's hard to look at here, but we'll look at the 250 top 5s actually. So obviously Jet Lawrence at 1 is good. RJ Hampshire at 2. RJ just really clicked. It really seemed like he finally has that Husqvarna moving the way he wants it to. Then Austin Forkner at number 3 is huge. I think that if he were to come back, he'd be better than Cam McAdoo. That might be a bad thing. Like, that take might not go well, and I'm sure that he might not race again, so it's tough to tell right now, but I'm going to keep him in the rotation for things as of now until we know how bad it is for him. And then I think that we'll talk about Cameron McAdoo at 4. And then I chose Voland at 5 when there was a bunch of, worthy guys. Maybe even Mitchell Oldenburg makes this top 5 list. But I just don't think he does that consistently, what he did this last week. But in honorable mentions, you guys see Enzo Lopes at the top of that list. And actually Styles Robertson, Levi Kitchen, Mitchell Oldenburg, and Phil Nicoletti. Just good stuff there. I really like this list a lot, actually. Glad I was able to get it across. And then we'll look at the 450 guys now, and these were my actual top 10s. I have Chase Sexton at 1. A lot of me truly believes if this wasn't such a rough track, if Chase Sexton has that lead, Eli Tomac weeds it over that over under, and this was a traditional Supercross track, and Chase Sexton, really was able to expand his line choice, I think that he really would have had a chance at being the number 1 guy and actually even gaining half a second a lap on the whole field. I think that he's just a guy that caliber. I think he has, that sort of that dog in him, I guess. I don't know. Eli Tomac at number 2, very self-explanatory. If he's not number 1, he's a very close 2 for me. It was very tough not to just stir it up and put him at number 1. But I think I picked Sexton for the championship, so. Got to stay true to it. And then Malcolm Stewart, before he went down, he looked like maybe one of the best riders out there, even found himself in the lead. And then it took Chase Sexton actually a while to chase him down. And then Cooper Webb, I know I just kept, reiterating how vintage Webb's back. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to see him. He wins the next 3 races. As far as I want that to be true, I don't think he is consistently faster than these guys on a traditional Supercross track, even though I could be wrong. But this track really suited his style, and I think it gave him a good kickstart, and he might have some nice motivation. And a guy that's moving way down boards for me right now is Jason Anderson, despite just one bad ride on, like I say multiple times, on not such a transition, or what is the word for it? A traditional Supercross track. I think that he found himself in a very bad situation this past week, but I mean, just looking at these guys, these top 4, even 3 guys at the top, it's just hard to think that you could put Jason Anderson past them. Ken Roczen at 6, I feel like it is very, explanatory, like self-explanatory. It really kind of, it just works for him, I guess. I don't know. At number 7, I have Dylan Ferrandis, put in a very solid ride, looked good. Same with AP, same deal. Just showed some greatness at times. And then I actually have Colt Nichols at number 9. And then I really believe in Marvin Musquin. I know Colt Nichols is a rookie. I know I'm kind of undervaluing that one, but I think that one kind of is a safe pick at number 9. But Marvin Musquin here at 10. Can take a bunch of guys off. I can see that, especially this past week's finish. But I really believe in him as the season moves along. But I also believe in Cianciarillo. So I mean, we'll see how these guys move throughout the season. Of course, very interested to see how this will all shake out. But that will be it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. I really hope you guys did, because I mean, these are really fun, and I really do enjoy making these, and I will be coming out with them each and every week. So just make sure to stay tuned if you guys are enjoying the series, because I really enjoy this sort of thing, and I hope that you guys are too. And that will be it for me. I'll see you guys next episode, or just next video in general. See you guys.